much, Olivier. Thank you. Now we're going to have a panel discussion. I love a panel discussion. We've got some great people on the panel. Please welcome Bertrand Baratte, who is Space Market Director from Airliquide, and he's also, which is what we're going to talk about, the EURO2MOON General Secretary. Also, Christiane Bergmann, Business Development Manager at OHB. Now, Julien Lamamé has replaced himself. I think he doesn't like the word sustainability, and he's a bit worried about my question. So he's replaced himself with Carlos Espekel, who is, of course, the ISRU lead at Ispace. And we also have Arnaud Siraudin, who is the Associate Director at Arthur D. Little. And Jim is going to join us from OffWorld. So Jim, you'll need to bring a chair up as well. And there's a microphone at the side of the chair, side of the stage. So chair and Mike and Jim will join us too. So we're going to start with you, in fact, giving us a little bit of a background of what EURO2MOON. Where's Jim gone? Oh, here he is. Fantastic, thank you, Jim.
That's the camping guy.
You're going to give us a little bit of insight into what EURO2MOON is.
Thanks, Lisa, for this introduction. That's right. So before explaining what is EURO2MOON, sorry for that, I think it's important to speak about the context. I think we are all, let's say, convinced that space has become omnipresent in our day-to-day life. We are using space every day for communication, for navigation, for Earth observation. Space is serving sustainability objective on Earth. But on the contrary, the way we operate space today is absolutely not sustainable, in the sense that every spacecraft, or almost every spacecraft, is not reusable and end up as a debris as soon as it's running out of fuel. So we have a big elephant in the room that we do not speak enough. It's this, the space debris, that sooner or later will jeopardize the space services given to Earth. So we, as space industry representative, have a responsibility here. It's to make space operation more sustainable for the benefit of Earth, for the benefit of space. And we have to answer a global equation that we try to summarize in 6 points on the screen. First, decarbonize that industry. Second, to standardize, to design by design, think interoperability, and to develop international regulation on the subject. Third, to make every spacecraft reusable. Fourth, to develop in-orbit servicing and in-orbit refueling to extend the lifetime of the spacecraft. Fifth, to develop in-situ resources utilization, so that's clearly the topic of this week. And last but not least, to develop international collaboration, because without that, there is no sustainability in that world. So that's why we've created EURO2MOON, that is now an association with 11 members. Airbus, Defence and Space, Airliquide, Ispace, ESRIC, Spartan Space, CEA, Arthur D. Little, ANRT, OffWorld, OHB, Yokogawa. Our senior advisor is Jean-Jacques Dordain, that you all know here. And our objective is to create a strong European ecosystem of complementary partners from Earth and space industry towards the sustainable implementation of space resources value chain for the benefit of Earth and for the benefit of space.
Yeah, thank you. You can take a chair.
No, that's fine.
No, please take a chair.
I'd be busy.
Somebody needs to take a chair. He's brought one on the stage. So
Yeah, that's right.
I'm going to say thank you so much for creating this. It's about 2 years old. And I also want to ask all of you, why have you joined this? Why is it important to be part of this? Carlos.
Thank you. So, of course, we were speaking about collaboration and partnership. So for us, it's extremely important to tackle all these challenges, the technical, the commercial, and the sustainable challenges together in collaboration, in partnership. So to be working with all these big names, big companies on all of these non-simple tasks, it's extremely foundational. So that was one of the many reasons we joined, and we're very happy to keep supporting the initiative.
Yeah, and the same to you guys, really. I mean, we see the names up here. Do you feel it's important to have this global conversation?
Yes, it's very important. So nowadays, the space became a global enterprise. The 21st century has seen an aggressive growth of space economies and space traffic. As Bertrand said, the debris situation is very critical, and if we don't do something, we are going to jeopardize the valuable orbits. And we need not just to avoid to create more debris, but we need also to remove that. So all these things leads to the fact that it's very important to create innovative methods and engineering solutions to enable a sustainable exploration of the space. And this can just be done by cooperation. We cannot do this alone because every company has a unique heritage, and we need to put everything together so that we can go in this direction. And EURO2MOON, in my point of view, is now the heart of the joining forces to achieve all of that.
Arnaud, how is this collaboration going?
Yeah. In fact, as you probably know, Arte Digital is a strategic consulting firm. However, we have a strong relationship with the moon economy, as we still have some equipment on the moon, because 50 years ago we were strongly involved in the Apollo program. So we have a strong track record on the moon, and we still believe that the moon economy and the cislunar economy can contribute to the sustainability on Earth, especially for propellant or for duality of technologies. And that's why we are involved in EURO2MOON association, because, as my colleague said, we will only succeed with collaboration. And if in our small parts we can contribute to the success of EURO2MOON, it will be a pleasure.
Now, Jim, I only run into you at this annual event and at various airports when you're on your way back from places like Davos. So you are an international voice along with the work that you do, and you're a great one-liner. And I know you'll speak the truth to me. So when it comes to what's really happening, and when we talk about what's been going on yesterday, we've got UNOSA yesterday, there's a lot of talk, but it's quite hard for everybody to follow what's put down in law. And it's quite hard to know whether the regulations are also followed on Earth, not alone space. So what are your own views?
Well, organizations like EURO2MOON are absolutely essential in this moment in time, because we are at an inflection between what has been a steady state geopolitical economic state for 100 to 150 years, irrespective of a couple of wars here and there. We are entering a new renaissance that is not only a renaissance of opportunity, but it's a renaissance of essential urgency. An 8 billion person population with the resource strains on our planet for food, distribution of resources, equanimity of opportunity is potentially beyond our control and our ability to service that if we stay in a closed Earth system. What we do need to do is open up the global Earth-Moon economy as one economy. The only real impediment is the transport link from the surface of the Earth to LEO. Our ability to solve and address all of the other issues, as you see from the amazing work being done even this morning and the last couple of days, our ability to solve some of these technical challenges is irrefutable. The big challenge that we have here is that there is a phase lag between initial market demand, technology readiness in space, and the overriding urgency of civilization. So we need to mobilize our push to the lunar surface and to the LEO and low lunar orbit domain in between in order to access and open up those resources in space to benefit life here on Earth, to open up the frontier, to provide that valve, that release of pressure that is increasing geopolitically that we see. That pressure is going to manifest in space security challenges, the challenges of enforcement of equanimity of access to space, to critical pinch points around the lunar surface, and the Lagrange points. So there is we actually need to move much faster than our technology curve suggests. We need to move much faster than customer demand indicates. We need to find a way, cooperating together in organizations such as this, to tell the world that the urgency and the challenges that we are facing terrestrially, geopolitically, energetically, and resource-wise have part of their solution in space. It's not the whole solution, but I do firmly believe that we won't be able to solve it without going to space en masse in an economic way that has the GDP mobilizations of the size of countries. And we need to do that now. We need to get moving right now. And there are emerging conversations happening at government and commercial levels that really will, I think, introduce a sea change in how we view our access to space.
Thank you, Jim. Bertrand, coming back to you, all of this is about collaboration, communication. It's about really working together, all of these industries, and I know it's an open call out for more to join EURO2MOON. But then Jim's just mentioned the word defense as well. So how can you have global collaboration when we are in this geopolitical, earthly situation where collaboration is not universal?
Yeah, maybe I'll use this to illustrate. Yeah, before moving to some additional slides to answer directly your question, to foster collaboration, we need big nations to step into that endeavor. I mean, if you want to collaborate and to create discussion, you need to bring something to the table. So that's why at EURO2MOON, we think that we need to create very quickly a strong industrial ecosystem to show all the talents we have in Europe, on Earth, but also in space, to contribute to this renaissance, as Jim says. And then to come to the table that is today driven by US and China and say, hey guys, we could also bring very, very useful and nice services, ideally transversal services that will be useful for Europe, but that will be useful for every nation. Maybe that's a bit optimistic to say that, but this could be a way to put everybody together towards a common good that is space for Earth. And for that, we organized this association in a very simple way, simple governance, with 4 working groups. One is about communication and public affairs, just to raise awareness of industry, Earth industry, that is not on the way today in Europe, but also institutions on what is happening. Because clearly, when we speak about the moon, most other people think in some ecosystem that we are speaking about science fiction and that it's long term, whereas it's happening today, and Carlos showed that this morning. Then we have a business and market working group that is led by Carlos to, let's say, assess the demand and the offer, because if we want cross-sectoral collaboration and industry to step into that association, we need to, let's say, show them what will happen and how their business could grow in a sustainable way with this. Then we have a working group on value chains, because this is very complex, and we are speaking about the emergence of a new massive industry that will require a lot of competencies. And last but not least, we have a working group on sustainability to start thinking about lunar sustainability key, let's say, indicator to, let's say, bridge our action to sustainability in space for the benefit of Earth. So maybe, just to illustrate, the value chain we are speaking about that is on the way, especially driven by US and China today, is massive. This will require all the talents from Earth, from space, but also collaboration between institutions and nations if we want this to happen in a coordinated way for the benefit of our common good, that is Earth and space.
Mm-hmm. And I wanted to also, oh yes.
Yeah,
Arnaud.
just want to add, I think that to foster the collaboration, we need a certain level of trust. And EURO2MOON help us to build this trust among others. And this level of trust enable to create some consortium or some GV or whatever for instance, answering on specific calls for proposal or call for project. And we did in recent months, we answered to some of projects for public authorities, and we were able to create in a very short time a consortium of industrials based on the trust that has been built in EURO2MOON association.
Thank you. I also want to just add the fact that, Carlos, you and I were talking, you know, I'm not saying anything that's not allowed to be said on stage, I don't think, but we were just saying that the rate at which law is developed when it comes to the space world, because it's quite tough to get things to work in space, it takes time. Comparing it to AI, and the rate of change of AI is so fast that education can't keep up, law can't keep up, citizens can't keep up half the time. But with the space world, there's a chance that the law can run in parallel with space. Now, when it comes to this word sustainability, we're also talking, and a few people have mentioned it, it's not sustainability just with respect to space resources or just with respect to transport. It's the whole ecosystem. And Carlos, I think you've got some views on this.
Yeah, thank you, Lisa. So I absolutely agree. And as we were discussing before, we humans are quite a reactive species where we wait for things to happen and then you create some sort of law, legislation. After you fall, then you put a helmet. After someone falls, then you put a rail. So we're quite reactive, right? And this is one of the first maybe opportunities that we have as humans to be proactive. But as you mentioned, the technologies that we're developing for space, they're kind of taking time, as we know. So that's giving us the actual time to work on proper legislation, on proper frameworks, on standards that will allow us to work sustainable. And of course, as we discussed, there's many different types of sustainability. There's the economic sustainability, operational sustainability, there is environmental sustainability. And I think another key word on this, and you mentioned the word defense, right, before, but one key word on this that I would like to share is, I think, to be inclusive. If we are inclusive and we're not exclusive, then there's no really need for division. I know it's a bit difficult in the current times, but that's one of the answers. We need to be inclusive, and not only across nations, but across sectors. So we need to bring everyone on board. We need to bring the states, so governments, space agencies, the commercial actors like EURO2MOON, and academy. There's really, really good research institutions, and I would like to mention one of them, which is the SMI in Australia, the Sustainable Minerals Institute, and they work across mining and oil and gas. But yeah, we need to be inclusive, again, not only across sectors, but yeah, across nations as well.
Mm-hmm. I really want to open up the conversation to the audience. I'm looking online, but I'm sure you're not asleep. I'm sure you're joining us and you're hugely activated, but there's not one question online. Have we got any questions from the floor? Yes, it's Simon in the front row, and we have a question here as well. So if a mic could go to Simon in the front row. Thank you.
A space resources market requires market participants to set prices so that we have better data points to go on. What's the easiest products that you can come up with that you can offer to non-space companies so that they can start participating in the space resources market in 5 to 10 years?
He wants the mic back.
Go for it, Jim.
Energy.
Right, we had that also yesterday, solar panels. Yeah, we had that as I think it was Eric who said that would be his first choice of business if he had unlimited funds. Any other additions?
One of the technologies that we are looking at and working with is processing systems that do not use water, of course, on the moon. And that's a specific technology that can be spin off and therefore a product at the end that can be offered to the terrestrial mining sector. As we know, on the copper, gold mining industry, there's a lot of water that is used and misused, and the same as power. But one specific technology is waterless technologies that we're, of course, using for the moon and can be spin-off for Earth.
Thank you. Do we have a roving mic in the audience? Or is it just Jim's mic? Thank you. If you could be my mic person, that would be brilliant. Thank you. I'm going to give you that job. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. I take this opportunity of having such a panel of experts in front of me. I have two questions. The first one, and it is, I'm surprised to see that in the working groups that you have in EURO2MOON, you do not have a working group for finance, because all these activities, lunar transportation, landing, mobility, and all in situ resource utilization, you have to fund it. How do you fund it? Why? Which are the sources of funding that you're going to look at? Is it going to be public-private partnership, like always having contracts with government agencies? Are you going to develop commercial activities in a sense that you're going to have a steady flow of revenues? This is the first question. So I don't understand why you don't have a committee specialized in funding space activities. The second one relates to sustainability. EURO2MOON has a mission and a vision to develop a sustainable space activity. Sustainability in terms of environmental and operational implies also removing all the waste that is in orbit. How do you see, as a panel of experts, the introduction of a tax for space waste removal? Thank you.
Okay, two excellent questions, both vaguely related to money when you mentioned the word tax. I'm going to turn to first of all, Carlos, because I saw you nodding away. And
Yeah, but I think for the finance, it's more appropriate for...
Yeah, concerning the finance, the first is, and I participate to the working group of led by Carlos, but we involve the finance issue inside the business and market. Why? Because in addition to all the public fundings, it is key, and it has been shown this morning, that first we have to prove that there is a demand, either on the moon or for technology on Earth. And based on these demand assessments and the proof of this demand, it could be possible to involve private fundings and so, and build, as I said, collaboration, consortiums, and so and so. But at this stage, I would say, the first priority is to prove and to assess and to demonstrate and to communicate the business and market demand on moon economy. And then, as you said, it could be possible to include private fundings and so, as they could be motivated to fund some projects.
So I think the question is existentially bigger than finance. There are two forms of customers or end users in history. One is individuals and the other is governments. They relate to two types of customer. One is humans, the other is humanity. So we actually have two customer sets that we don't really differentiate. The first that we've been really discussing is how do we sell to humans and the organizations that they represent. That's a cycle that works well in mature systems once you overcome the barriers to entry of surpassing a frontier, entering a growing and emerging market. The other customer set that the space community is one of the few that are well positioned to address is that of humanity. Humanity is a single customer. The product is existentially urgent. It is survival and growth. how we relate to those two customer sets, how we message that, and how we generate the capital to A, sell to humans and their organizations in a steady state environment, which we do in the trillions and tens of trillions of dollars annually. We got that. What we don't have and what we haven't really ever tried to do is sell to humanity. Sell to humanity with a single global product that is so urgent, it's so ubiquitous in its need, that for most of us, we don't even know it exists. It's right in front of us. We call it climate crisis, we call it environmental urgency, we call it sustainability, and yet the solution set exists in combining the resources of space with the resources of Earth. That's all our ingenuity, all of our ability to use the window of opportunity that we have, which is the oil and gas and hydrocarbon economy, to build the systems so that we can overcome the hump of getting into space and tapping into that steady state market so we can sell to humans. So I think we have an opportunity to bring that conversation to table, to crystallize that differentiation, and to then address the stakeholders who can finance both the steady state market once we get over the hump, and how to actually generate the finance to sell to humanity to get over that hump. Previously, we've called it altruism, philanthropy, any other frame of reference. But I do believe we have an urgency, we have a window of opportunity, and we have to create a new form of capital mobilization that allows us to generate the 10, 100 billion, trillion dollar mobilization this generation to get into the steady state market forces.
Jim, I know Carlos and Christiane, you're going to come in a moment. You mentioned government and citizens as two customer bases. Now, we also know that, of course, the market cap of some tech companies, entrepreneurs, two of which are very, very active in the space market, is greater than some countries' economies. So how do they fall into this?
So currently, I mean, if we're talking about Bezos and Musk, they are both doing admirable and awe-inspiring jobs in the steady state market. They can lead the humanity-based mobilization. They could create the core with a number of their other buddies in creating a $100 billion fund. I'm not kidding, a $100 billion fund to mobilize the transportation and infrastructure establishment in cislunar space to enable 100 or 1,000 other industrial processes, resource, energy, human activity, and economically driven that can then emerge over that hump. But first, they have to get over the priorities that they have for shareholder and stakeholder value in the steady state market context that they're thinking of selling to humans, which they're doing admirably in our Earth-based economy. And combined with other countries who are well-heeled and could see the advantages of becoming, generating multi-trillion-dollar budgets in the steady-state market of the combined Earth-Moon economy, they could really mobilize that. We could get this going within 12 months, within a year, and activate a global renaissance with a different mindset, with a new economic paradigm that allows us to create a solar system-based economy rather than a single planet economy. But that requires some real thought leadership.
That's why we have you on stage, all of you. Carlos, some thought leadership from you.
I just would like to go back to the public question.
The actual question. Don't worry, I had realized we'd gone off piece. Don't worry, I've got my notes.
And so one of the working groups is the market and business. And one of the works is once we run this new market assessment, we're going to get new data. And one of the models we're going to build is a financial model to estimate an NPV, and part of that is getting some estimations on CapEx and OpEx and so on. And once we build the cash flows, we'll have an idea when we need the different rounds of investments, which of course is now. And But it's a really good point. Like in the Ispace point of, when in our experience, before we became public, we had, of course, private investment. Now we are public, and we received as well some state investment, if you like. But your point is excellent, which I think we should take into account. Why don't we include someone in terms of investment? And it can be the European Investment Bank and another member.
Yeah, definitely, and you anticipated, let's say, the evolution of the association. I just remind that it's quite, let's say, new, and as we are all industrialists, we started by doing our homework, trying to assess what could be the global value chain, because when you look at the screen, finally, it's extremely complex. So the first, let's say, action is to identify who are the stakeholders on Earth, but also in space, that could eventually fulfill different part of this value chain in Europe, then identify the gaps, then work on the business model, as Carlos said, and from that we'll be able to say, hey, that is the way, the way that would be the most efficient to step into that new endeavor, and the funding part will come. Maybe to jump on that and to echo on what Carlos presented, this starts by assessing what is the demand. For that, we need to collaborate, and the idea of EURO2MOON is to be open source. So clearly, you have these two surveys that will be available on the screen, but also in the lobby. We'd be very happy that you contribute to this survey to enrich the database, so that we could go in the direction you propose.
Thank you. I know, Christiane, you want to come in?
So I just want to come back about the topic taxes. So before to start to think about taxes, we need to define an obligatory regulation. So we don't have laws. So which kind of penalties these taxes will be based on? First of all, we need to define the laws and then define taxes and penalties. And the laws, just not in European environment, but in international environment. And this is a process that takes time. And this time cannot be, we cannot wait until we have these taxes and we have these regulations to start to do something, because then it's too late. And then we already lost the possibility to continue to development and to explore space. So we need now to conscience ourselves and say, even if there is no obligations, if the zero debris charter from ESA, for example, is an ambition, but it's not an obligation, and even if there is no penalties, we need to conscience ourselves that we need to act sustainability, because also when we do our business cases, we don't do our business case for the next 5 years. You do our business case maybe for the next 20 years. We want that our companies continue to grow and continue to develop and continue to use the space. And we on the Earth continue to have profit and benefits of this exploration for space. So we need now have conscience, and then afterwards, the process of the taxes and the regulations, we will follow in parallel, and once we are there, we can think about it. But now we need to caution ourselves that we cannot act in an unsustainable way.
Jerry Sanders has a question. I know that we're slightly over time, but I think this is interesting. I won't take too much longer of your coffee break, I promise. Jerry.
Okay, so Jerry Sanders, NASA. On my charts on the first day, I tried to highlight the fact that there are growing numbers of consortiums to work across different communities. On Monday, we heard from the Luxembourg Space Agency and their pillars for supporting the development of the communities and resources. We have ESRIC. So how does a company, and then I didn't even mention the Moon Village. All of these organizations have, to some extent, very similar ideas on how to build community, how to build technologies, how to collaborate across industry, academia, and government. So how does an individual, how does a company select between joining EURO2MOON versus Moon Village, or part of the ESRIC community, or in the United States, the Lunar Surface Innovation Consortium? Because I get saturated trying to handle each one of these things. I can't imagine what the rest of the community is. So here's a plug to convince people to join you versus Moon Village versus somebody else.
That's a very good question, Jerry, but I'll turn it back on you first of all. How do you choose what you join?
That requires a beer and a longer-term conversation.
Okay, so convince the audience. That's the final question before the coffee break.
Yeah, maybe. So that's maybe the intent of this slide. So first of all, the idea of EURO2MOON is to bridge Earth and space industries. So that was originally the objective, to build a European ecosystem that would be strong enough to come to the table of Lunar Innovation Consortium in the US and say, hey guys, we need to collaborate. And that's what we'd like to start doing with that survey that is open source, to put to the table something that will, let's say, bridge all these associations. But as a reminder, EURO2MOON is to initiate a strong European ecosystem, industry-led, with startups, with industry from Earth, from space, but also from research center, so that everybody in Europe start moving into the direction that Jim gave, that is a kind of renaissance, because today we have an iconic opportunity of the century to put everybody together towards a common good. And honestly, there is not so much opportunity for that, and we need that.
Well, Jerry would say otherwise. He would say there's an awful lot of opportunity for.
And Jerry, I offer you a beer with pleasure.
There we go. There we go. Well, we have no beer at the moment, but we do have coffee. Yeah, and it's the coffee break now. I know there's one question online. Thank you very much, Elias, for asking the question. I'm sure somebody will answer it online. We're going to start back here in the room at 11 o'clock, so a short coffee break. And there's a parallel session going on from this coffee break right through, we have lunch break together, till the next coffee break with Larry Kujko. Thank you, everyone. Thank you to the panel. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.